Good evening, everybody. I know you're muted, but sending you greetings from Komani Campus, Gray Street in Queenstown. My name is Tony Masha. I'm a lecturer here in the Department of Management Studies, and I teach public administration. I've been asked to be the program director for you for today. And while on that, I would like to acknowledge the presence of our Vice Chancellor, Professor Dushela Songa, Vice Chancellor and Principal of Sisulu University. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the Chairperson of Council, Advocate Tendeka Itobi. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the clergy, represented here by Archbishop Thabo Makgoba. And I'd like to acknowledge the presence of senior members of staff at Sisulu University, from your Deputy Vice Chancellor, your people in research offices, and other directors, the presence of lecturers who are here, senior and junior lecturers, unions, staff members, guests, members of the community, politicians, you are all welcome. This lecture is taking place for the second time at Sisulu University. I'm not going to talk much about it. I would like to say that we are running short of time, but at this juncture, Professor Mashudu Maselesele will welcome you, and I'd like to hand over to her. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Program Director. To the Chairperson of Council, Advocate Ngcuka Itobi, the Vice Chancellor and Principal of WSU, Professor Rushila Songa, to the Archbishop, Thabo Makgoba and family, to our guest speaker, Dr. Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, to all members of Institutional Management Committee, all honored guests, staff and students, good evening. On behalf of our Vice Chancellor, Professor Songa, and the university community, it is indeed an honor for me to welcome you all to the Archbishop Thabo Makgoba Development Trust Annual Lecture on Value-Based Leadership on Local Economic Development. Our university is truly honored to have this partnership with the Archbishop Thabo Makgoba Development Trust. We also are greatly honored to welcome our guest speaker, Dr. Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka. We look forward to the lecture. To the Vice Chancellor, this event comes at a time when our country is operating on a crisis mode due to COVID-19 pandemic and all other social ills that have invaded our system of governance. And I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about. Now, this lecture also creates an opportunity for us to reflect as an institution and as a nation. Just to say this country needs leaders such as this foundation, who will remind us of where we come from before we lose all the moral fiber that we once had. And you'll agree with me that our WSU vision, which is to become an impactful technology-infused African university, and our slogan, which says, in pursuit of excellence, we agree that the Archbishop Thabo Makgoba Development Trust is indeed geared towards assisting us in achieving our vision, and also ensuring that we continue to strive and be in pursuit of excellence. Your foundation is indeed confirming our values, the value of Ubuntu, and we also appreciate that. We also regard your foundation as part of the family of WSU, and we appreciate this partnership. And we want to say, when you come across organizations of this nature, who will also remind you of what we need to do as a country and as an institution, we really embrace this partnership and we appreciate the relationship. Once more, I want to say to all of you, all honored guests, a warm welcome to all of you. And we also look forward to the lecture. Program Director, thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Davana Maselesele. Thank you so much for that warm welcome. And also apologies that I did not initially acknowledge the presence of our guest speaker, Dr. Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, which I am humbly apologetic about. We are aware that the Archbishop Thabo Makgoba Development Trust has funded Walter Sisulu, an amount I cannot disclose here, to have this annual lecture. This is the second time. We had it last year. We are very appreciative of that gesture, and we would like to ask him to come forth and share with us some background information regarding this partnership. Archbishop, please take the floor, unmute yourself, and you can also show your face via a video. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Program Director, and thank you. And let me also acknowledge the Vice Chancellor, acknowledge the campus rector, and acknowledge Professor Maselesele. Thank you for that welcome, and also acknowledge our guest speaker today. And on behalf of the trustees of the Archbishop Thabo Makgoba Development Trust, who are Dr. Louisa Mujela, Dr. Gloria Sirobe, Mrs. Lungelo Makgoba, and our staff, Molly Junkie. I'm so grateful for our partnership with the Walter Sisulu University, named after that remarkable and selfless leader who Thabo Walter Sisulu. Thank you indeed for this partnership. The trust has been in existence for 9 years, and we have partnered with 6 other universities. For example, University of Limpopo, we look at skills development and rural livelihood. We are in our 7th year of these lectures. At Rose University, we look at values-based leadership, and this is the 7th year. At University of Mpumalanga on ethical and moral leadership, we are now in our 6th year. At the University of Cape Town, we also look at ethical and moral leadership. At the University of Fort Hare on leadership in local economic development. And of course, in this prestigious university, all of them are prestigious, but we are glad we are associated with the Walter Sisulu University, and this is our 2nd year of partnership. So the trust, in brief, because I'm keen to hear the input from the guest speaker. The aim of the trust is to foster partnership with these universities with a hope to promote dialogue in our country, to reflect collectively, and to explore possible solutions to challenges that face our country. And our 3 pillars are in food security, social justice, and education. And these lectures are under education. And with those brief words, once again, Dr. Mlambo-Ngcuka, we are honored that you agreed to address this evening's lecture. Thank you, Program Director.
Could I call in again Archbishop to please share more about the trust itself, what it does, the work that it does around communities and the rest, not necessarily around what it does with the 6 universities. I know that he's probably not prepared for this, but he could keep us busy until Professor Binza comes in. Archbishop, are you willing to do that for us?
Yeah, yes.
Please show us a video. Tell us more about the trust, especially your role in women development. How far can our female students benefit from your trust? And what activities have you prepared or would you be willing to prepare for our female young academics or young students that they can benefit from your trust?
Thank you so much, Program Director. I pray that the Professor Binza will come sooner, because I don't want to to really rattle. I had not prepared for this particular element. I am very much waiting to hear from Dr. Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka. But in short, the trusts in those three areas, in food security, education, and social justice, we run in partnership with the University of the North, rural livelihoods program, and there is a farm in Makgoba's Kloof where we try to encourage people to learn farming, to address the issues of unemployment through the agrarian matters. And we, in the area of education, besides the lectures, we partner with schools like in Alexander Township, Pulusho School. We've removed all the old blackboards and put in the new smart boards. In some of the most rural schools in Tlhabine, next to Linyenye, outside Zanini, we have bought desks for a school there. We also work outside South Africa in Lesotho. There's a school where we have provided uniform for the children. And then in the area of social justice, maybe let me say, during the time of COVID, we have managed to support a number of small business enterprises. We partner with others that have got more money in order to share with those that do not have. And if you Googled Archbishop Thabo Makgoba Development Trust, you will see some of the areas that we cover. And I just want to hand over to you. Possibly Professor Binza is back.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, I think we can continue. I'm informed that our guest speaker, Dr. Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, will be leaving very early today because she's got other commitments. So we don't want to keep her waiting. Professor Binza will come in maybe later on and introduce her. But all I can say is she's a woman of repute, very highly educated. She has served in the UN Women. She's been our deputy vice president at one time. She's very much an activist in women affairs and education. And she's somebody that most girls look up to. She's very reachable. You send her an email, she responds. She's unselfish. And at this juncture, I would like to call her to come and deliver her speech. Then the rest will follow later on. Dr. Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, please prepare yourself, unmute, show us your video, and then you can take over from here. Let's join hands, ladies and gentlemen, to welcome our guest speaker today, Dr. Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Chair. I would like to greet the Chancellor. Don't know if she's there, Sheila Sisulu. Bishop, Archbishop, good evening. Greet Advocate Toby, Vice Chancellor, Professor Nolundi Songqa, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Mzigayise Binza, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Dr. Prince Jaka, Executive Management, students and staff of Walter Sisulu University. Good evening, and it's a pleasure to see you tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to celebrate the support that the students have received from Archbishop. Thank you, Archbishop, for this support and for the encouragement that this support gives to students. And to the students, thank you for the work that you have done, which has made you deserve the support that has been given by the bishop. We are in a learning institution where you learn to write. We are in an age and a time where women must not ask to participate, must not just demand to participate, but must simply take their space, because we are at a critical time, and the slow mechanisms that tend to derail women have become just unbearable to many of us. Patriarchy doesn't celebrate women who write, who are outstanding speakers. They don't celebrate women who are, patriarchy doesn't celebrate women who are role models. So women have got to own the space whenever they have a possibility to do that. Our education is important to all of us. Education in the world is important to men and women and to the younger generation. In 1995, in Beijing, China, where nations gathered and adopted the Beijing Declaration and produced a blueprint on women's equality. At that conference, education was highlighted. And in fact, it was the African women who were particularly insistent on the importance of education. They also highlighted the importance of profiling girls, in not just as children, but girl children, because of the specific challenges that girl children faced. Education being one, when at that time, and still in some countries, it is still like that, it is very easy to just take girls out of schools or to stop a girl from proceeding with her education. Young girls are forced to marry because just because they're a girl, they suffer this challenge of forced early marriage. Young girls experience gender-based violence, including female genital mutilation. And of course, many of the girls experience non-consensual sex, and many of them we have seen, especially in East and Southern Africa, that they have become victims of the older men, leading to these young girls being infected with the HIV and AIDS. And this remains an issue of great concern because we are still the region in the world that has a high incidence of HIV and AIDS. And at the same time, girls who are at school are the ones that are most likely to expect to escape this horrendous act. So in some way, if you like, you can say that education is actually a way to prevent the spread of HIV and AIDS. It was interesting that in Beijing in 1995, many governments actually were receptive to the call of women. The countries that had neglected education up to that time worked very hard to bring girls to school, leading to many countries increasing their enrollment. South Africa was one of the countries which also did very well and increased the enrollment of girls in school. However, we had setbacks in countries that are at war, where we saw girls drop out of school, girls still continuing to be forced to marry, girls were also being trafficked. In countries which have forged ahead with education, we have seen that girls have distinguished themselves very well. In many countries now, there are more girls than boys at university level. However, sadly, girls do not get the jobs that correspond with their levels of education. So that is a challenge that we still have to face. We also, in Beijing in 1995, highlighted the importance of jobs for young people, a challenge that we're facing again in this country and in many other parts of the world, and a challenge that has become much more complicated as a result of the pandemic. Now, there is no gender neutral pandemic, and COVID was not an exception. Women do not suffer because of the disease itself. They suffer because of the underlying issues in society that discriminate against them. They suffer because of the way the disease is managed, which tends to carry on the discriminatory practices that women suffer. And we have seen that also in COVID across the world. We saw, sadly, that a larger number of men died during the pandemic, from the pandemic, in part because men are less likely to be as vigilant about their healthcare as women are. Something that we have to be concerned about. We have to address even after COVID, because it's not whether we will have another pandemic, it is when we will have another pandemic, and it should not find us in this same situation. But women suffered the socio-economic challenges that were generated by the pandemic. 2/3 of the jobs that were lost during the pandemic were lost by women. Jobs in the service industries, in tourism, hospitality, as well as women in the informal sector. And in Africa, the informal sector is a big sector. 2/3 of women who work outside their homes work in the informal sector. And these are women who have the hardest time to pick themselves up again. And the fiscal interventions that governments provided to help and support women have tended not to reach women very well. It is something that we have to work for. But in any case, governments have no fiscal space now, including our own government. So women are actually in a very, very serious situation. And then girls dropped out of school in large numbers in many countries. Girls were married off during the pandemic, they were trafficked, and that too has caused a lot of hardships. Women also who do not have digital literacy were unable to pack their laptop and go back and continue working at home. For them, life was at a standstill. And for many, life has not been able to continue again. And that raises the importance of digital literacy in our schools and the role of university and all of us, of universities and all of us in promoting digital literacy in our schools. It is now a basic need, and in fact, recently the Pope was discussing digital literacy as a basic right, because if you do not have digital literacy, the future of work is very bleak. I am working in a foundation, my foundation, where we do digital literacy. Luckily, teachers have understood this challenge. I am very encouraged by their enthusiasm and the hard work in the training program, and we are looking forward to their graduation in February next year. Teachers are the ones who will also pass on those skills to children in a structured manner, so that children do not just use their gadgets to play, but they use their gadgets to learn. And of course, we also now get inquiries from parents who are saying, what about us? Because many of the parents have also found that finding a job that can sustain you without digital literacy is important. We continue to have to educate also our public representatives. We've just had our local government election where we were exposed to the many challenges of our country. The need for education and training of elected representative is real. And I'm raising this to you as a university. You have to ask yourself in the Eastern Cape where you are, how can you help these elected representatives to know how to do their job, to acquire the relevant skills required for someone who is entrusted with the governance of our countries. Otherwise, our country is in big, big trouble. We also need to engage with our public representatives on ethical leadership and the responses they have as stewards who are looking after the resources of the nation. It is important to remind public representatives that they're not public bosses. They are public servants and they are elected representatives. And to be an elected public representatives is to choose to serve, not to be served, is to sacrifice and not to enrich yourself. All of these are issues that I think we have failed to teach, but also we have allowed unscrupulous people to be dominant in our public space, and that has led to untold suffering to our people. So as I thank the Archbishop for his work and for his support, I would like to urge all of us to work in collaboration with the Archbishop to support his work, to support the kind of work he takes on in terms of leadership training, so that hopefully we can turn the situation around. We cannot leave this country to our children as it is. We also have to fight against gender inequality in all its forms, fight against violence against women in all its forms. We are the first generation that has a possibility to turn and to drive gender equality in a significant way, because we have seen a lot. We know the questions and we know the answers. The questions that are worrying us in gender equality have answers, and these answers are within reach. We also are the last generation with a possibility to stop the planet from extinction. Climate change is our issue. We cannot be light-hearted about it. We need to understand it, and we need to make choices of what we are going to do. And again, I'm hoping that universities can take on climate change much more significantly, just like digital literacy. Learning and knowing about climate change is now one of the basic things that every student needs to know about and needs to get involved. And all of us in the community needs to be there to support. The last thing that we learned from dinosaurs is that it is possible to be extinct, and we cannot sleepwalk ourselves to extinction. Yes, South Africa is not the worst offender. We are not the worst emitter, but we are a significant emitter, especially in our continent. So it is important for us to do something about, for instance, diversifying how we get our energy so that we have got clean energy in our energy mix, as well as not depending just on one institution. Eskom cannot be all to us. We need other institutions that can be suppliers of energies. Energy, transportation are some of the biggest challenges when it comes to climate change, and a change in the way we use those resources, the way we design technologies is important. It is therefore another reason why we need to keep our kids at school so that they can learn and they can be problem solvers. I wish everybody a good luck, and I hope we can all rise up to the occasion at this very difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, for your touching lecture. We've learned a lot of things from your lecture today, and we're happy to know about the type of work that your foundation is doing, hoping that our young ones will follow through and maybe be members of your foundation very soon. Thank you so much. We understand that we'll be joining another meeting, so we're not going to spend too much time replying to your speech. I would like to go straight to the announcement of our 3 winners for the competition that has been going on critically discussing the role of value-based leadership in local economic development. So the Archbishop Thabo Makgoba Development Trust has put in 10,000 Rand for this competition. Initially, it was going to go to only 1 winner, but as a committee, we sat down and said, no, let's divide it into 3. So the first winner walks away with 5,000 Rand. The second winner walks away with 3,000, and the third winner walks away with 2,000 Rand. We had quite a number of entrants, most of them very high quality. Unfortunately, we only had to choose 3. And ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to announce our 3 winners this year. 2 of them, I think, have indicated where they're from. Number 3, we're still yet to find out. So our first winner, who received a mark of 95% with a turn-in report of only 5%, WSU requires 15%, is Lilita Lungwengwe. Lilita Lungwengwe, you are walking away with 5,000 Rand. Congratulations. Our second winner, who received a mark of 88% with a turn-in report of 17%, just 2 marks more above the required 15%, is Sisipo Komisane. Our third winner is Sisipo Komisane will walk away 3,000 Rand. Our third winner is Aluncedo Zikali, who received 72%. Aluncedo Zikali did not submit a turn-in report, so she got 0 out of 5 for that item. I wonder if she has submitted it, maybe her mark could have gone higher. So let me repeat, our first winner, 95%, Lilita Lungwengwe, congratulations. Sisipo Komisane, 88%, winner number 2, and Aluncedo Zikali, number 3, you walk away with 2,000 Rand, and you got a mark of 72%. Congratulations to all these winners. I will be personally taking them through a 1-day workshop on writing skills so that they can improve. We had very many entrants, and some of them are of very high quality. I was talking to the committee of 1 who actually received 68%, and she was number 4. Very good quality. Unfortunately, we can only take the best 3 winners. At this juncture, I would like to welcome Advocate Mkaitobi, who is going to give us a vote of thanks. Please prepare yourself and take the floor, unmute yourself, and you can show the video if you want. Thank you so much for listening to me announcing those winners. After Advocate Ngcuka, Dr. Bulelwa Nguza, please prepare yourself to give a vote of thanks. No, Advocate Ngcuka is from the convocation, sorry, it's message of support. It's only Dr. Nguza that will give a vote of thanks. Yours is a message of support. Thank you so much, Advocate.
Thank you very much. As long as I have a right to speak, whether it is a vote of thanks or a message of support. Could I start off by acknowledging and thanking the Archbishop, Dr. Thabo Makgoba, for the choice of Walter Sisulu University as one of the partner universities. I also, of course, wish to thank Dr. Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka for one, honoring our invitation, notwithstanding the multiple demands on her time. Indeed, for preparing to give us a lecture, and indeed for delivering the lecture. We do not take your presence at our university lightly. And so we are greatly honored that you have taken the time to be with us tonight. We are a university at the cusp of development. We are located among the villages of the former Transkei. We are located among the townships of the former South Africa, East London, among the towns of Queenstown. This location is a product of our history. It is bound together with the ugly past of South Africa. When we see leading figures in society responding positively to our invitation, we are encouraged, not so much for ourselves. We are encouraged because of the example that you give to our students, because of the confidence that you give to the public about the role our university, small as it is and distant as it is from the epicenter of economic development. So I want to speak not only on my own behalf as the president of the convocation and chairperson of council, I want to also speak on behalf of former students of the university who are members of the convocation that I lead. Also on behalf of management, we have a dynamic, might I add, dynamic Vice Chancellor, Rashila Songa, who continues to inspire the entire leadership of the university to be ambitious, to dream, to achieve, to want to achieve. Although our university, at the time of its establishment, was known as the University of Transkei, a flagship program of the apartheid government, in fact, an extension of the Bantustan regime. Although it is a place where apartheid policies of separate development were practiced, although its purpose was to educate a Bantustan elite in order to play a role in the civil service of the Bantustan. In reality, those goals of the Bantustan government and those goals of the apartheid government were thwarted by students and some of the lecturers of the university in the 70s and in the 80s, and of course in the 90s. And so the white government of apartheid could not suppress the idealism of the students at the time. Students wanted to study. They wanted to acquire more information than they were receiving in class. They wanted to expand and transcend their knowledge. Today, the university has these dynamic leaders. I've already spoken about our inspirational Vice Chancellor. We have also leaders at campus level, Professor Mashudu Tabana Maselesele was one of them, is one of them, but spoke earlier today. Dr. Jaca is another. These are highly educated individuals who could be playing important roles elsewhere in the country, but they have decided to dedicate their time to be with us, to be exemplary to our students, and indeed to quote unquote plow back the skills and the talent. We need more of these because a university with our history can always do with leadership. I spoke about the foundations of the university and the goals of the apartheid government at the time it established it. I spoke about how these goals were resisted and in fact overcome by a combination of students and lecturers, whose goals was to create a new society in which there would be no distinction according to race, in which tribalism would be overcome, in which the intention of offering inferior university education would be defeated. The ways in which all of these would be achieved included self-help, additional classes, assistance to others, going beyond the curriculum. As a result, when South Africa moved to democracy, President Mandela's government drew primarily from the graduates of Black universities. These were the epicenters of Black university education. Although they were seen from the outside as Bantustan universities, they themselves did not perceive themselves as Bantustan universities. Instead, in the transition to democracy, they saw themselves as playing a central role in the development, not of the Bantustan, but of the country as a whole. They would expand their influence into the state, into the economy, and indeed into society as a whole. Dr. Mlambo-Ngcuka spoke about the importance of skills. No country can develop without skills. She also spoke about the significance of educating women and girls. This cannot be overemphasized, particularly in an area like the Eastern Cape, where we still draw the primary source of our students, in which women still bear the brunt of patriarchy and bear the brunt of underdevelopment. You see this every day when you walk in the villages of the Transkei. Education is education. The quality of it sometimes does not depend on the offering. Often it depends on the individual determination, the individual effort, and the spirit of each individual who receives education. These days, our university incorporates former technicons, Border, Transkei Technicon, at Butterworth. These are crucial extensions to the old university, which offered traditional university courses because they add a technical dynamic to the offerings of the university. We can continue to make a contribution to society in the same way as in the 80s and in the 90s, there was resistance to Bantustanism. But we need to transform the way in which education is offered. We need adaptive teaching to respond and take forward the project of democracy. We need to think bigger. And this is the crucial part of the speech made by Dr. Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, who did not only refer to South Africa, but indeed referred to global developments. In other words, placing at the heart of global changes a university like Walter Sisulu. And perhaps the greatest tragedy facing society as a whole, and indeed facing our political class today, is not so much corruption, nor is it incompetence, although the two often receive newspaper headlines. Perhaps, if I can go to the essence of Dr. Mlambo-Ngcuka's speech, perhaps the greatest tragedy facing society is the absence of idealism. It is the indifference to suffering. And so if we are to re-engineer our society, we should start by rekindling the spirit of idealism. What do I mean about this? It is to dream that things do not have to be the way they are, to believe that change is possible, to believe that we are the people who can bring the change, to trust ourselves, to reject the notions of the past where Africans were regarded as lazy, indolent, incompetent. This was the strength of the person after whom the university is named, Walter Sisulu. For 26 years, he was in prison, sometimes alone, sometimes with others, but never with his wife, Mom Albertina, never with his children, never even with his grandchildren. What kept him was the belief, the idealism, the belief that things would one day change, but that he could change them. He could change them by being a prisoner, by making a personal sacrifice. It is perhaps that belief in idealism that we need to help us navigate the present challenges. This, of course, as Dr. Thabo Makgoba pointed out, is not possible without values, without honesty, without integrity. These are old values. They are nevertheless timeless. The university is the place where the leaders of society are incubated, taught, molded, graduated, and ultimately kept. When we teach our students, we cannot only impart technical skills, we must also teach them soft skills. Teach them how to care about society, how not to be indifferent to suffering, how to be ambitious for the betterment of society. A week ago, we had a graduation. Many of the students we produced will be unemployed, but this is not a reason to give up on the necessity of university education, but it is to emphasize its significance. To be relevant, we need to change the way we do things. We need to educate leaders that are capable of taking society forward. This is why we are absolutely grateful and honored that today we have two of the most important leaders that have been produced by South Africa in generations that are in the same category as Archbishop Desmond Tutu, in the same category as Mamu Winnie Madikizela Mandela, in the same category as Mamu Albertina Sisulu. And so with those words, I want to say on behalf of the convocation, we have not taken your presence for granted. We have instead been enriched, sinelunda, as a result of your presence and your speech. We wish to strengthen the relationship that we have with your good selves. We want to see how that can make us flourish as a university, and indeed, what contribution we can make to make your own institutions flourish. The convocation also wishes to congratulate the 3 students who were won today. It is a crucial competition because it is about writing. And writing is an essential skill of navigating the 21st century economy and the political world, and indeed society as a whole. And raising those competitions is crucial to achieving the essence of what it means to be a university. This year, Professor Songa made a crucial point in her inaugural lecture as a vice chancellor, in which she said that we are no longer a university of the past, nor are we a university in development. We are now a fully fledged university. We've got to take responsibility to move society forward. Doing so means we must take ourselves seriously as the university. A lecture like this is one of the important steps towards taking ourselves as Black people, as Africans, seriously. And in those few words, I want again to stress how grateful we have been for your presence, how grateful we have been for the media presence, how grateful we have been indeed for everyone who has been able to log in and attend. Those are the messages I've been told to send on behalf of the former students and graduates of the university that I lead. Thank you, Program Director.
Thank you very much, Advocate Ngcuka, such an eloquent speaker. We recognize you, we appreciate you as the chairperson of council and president of the convocation. Thank you for those words. They have touched many of us, and we appreciate you very much. In the interest of time, I would like now to call our last speaker, who will do an item on vote of thanks, who is currently the acting rector of Butterworth campus. Dr. Ngcuka, please take the stage and mute and show us a video. And after you have spoken, I will not be coming back. That will be it. Everyone will leave at leisure. And I think the vote of thanks will have concluded this session. From myself here in Komani, thank you very much for listening to me. I wish you a good night. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director. To the Chair of Council and the President of Walter Sisulu University Convocation, Advocate Thembeka Ngcuka, our Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University, Professor Rashila Nolundi Songa, our two DVCs, that is Professor Binza and also Dr. Jata, all the IMC members, the Senate members, the CMC members, student leadership, convocation, reps, institutional forum, labor unions, colleagues, our special guests from the industry, business and education sectors, as well as our VIPs today, which are Archbishop Makgoba and Dr. Mlambo-Ngcuka. I greet you all in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Let me start by thanking our VC for inspiring and motivating us to hold these lectures and webinars to claim our academic space. Let me also acknowledge the support that we always get from our Chair of Council. Your support is always acknowledged and appreciated. A special thanks to you, Dr. Mlambo-Ngcuka, for the words of wisdom and the encouragement and the testing that you have put us through so that we can change the way we do things, more especially in support of women and young girls throughout the world. Your sharing of the experiences of what you have encountered throughout the world is an inspiration to us that we as women, we need to work together and collaborate, support one another, and motivate one another. Thanks to you, Archbishop Thabo for your presence, as well as for always supporting us in terms of providing us with the support, financial support for starters, for us to have this lecture annually, as well as sharing your wisdom of values in leadership, as well as ethical conduct with all of us. We've been hearing about your activities and your support throughout, and we're humbled by the fact that we are one of the universities that you have collaborated in order to support us. Thanks again colleagues, to all the participants that were in this program, thanks to the speakers, you have set a tone that we'll all remember in terms of this annual lecture. And thanks again to the ladies that have won today the competition, which was not necessarily easy, but I'm humbled by the fact that all of them were ladies. Thank you very much for participating, and also try your level best so that we can be the 3 winners. Once more, thanks to all the organizers of this event for making a point that this event became a success. I thank you all, colleagues, the students, the members from the community, the industry, the business, the education sector. The list is long for actually making this event a success. Last but not least, I thank you, the program director, for leading us very well. Stay blessed. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.